feel like a director there with that, eh? Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is a special meeting. I've been told by the CA we can't talk about anything but insurance. So if you got any other burning issues, they'll have to be on the next meeting, okay? This is what it's about, so insurance. So, and we do have a meeting next week, so we have a lot of regular stuff. So I'll call to order. Disclosure any pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. You got any? No. I hear none. You have no minutes, no other additional items. Public meetings, whatever. So moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Elliott. The town of Minto convenes in a committee of the whole. All in favor? Got it. Carried. Okay. And you have your report. I guess I'll ask, Phil, did you want to?
Mayor Bridge, if there is a public question.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is a public question period.
There's one member of the public.
You got any questions?
Here regarding the other?
Okay, all right, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Right.
Mayor Bridge, the staff report is, was circulated to you by email last night and delivered to most of your homes. You also had the report from the previous meeting. At February 3rd, you considered our summary report and you gave direction to meet with the two firms in question. And you have the summary tables outlining the main coverage issues that our consultant identified as well. The more minor things, the more specific, I'll call them picky details that only insurance people with expertise can find. The two firms that we're considering at this point, based on the proposal request, are Frank Cowan Company and Jardine Lloyd Thompson. Those interviews that you directed to staff to arrange for were held on February 10th. Both companies were kind enough to indulge our request in short notice and on the same day. So Mayor Bridge, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Elliott, Treasurer Duff, myself, and Randy Bushy, our consultant, met with both firms. JLT was represented by Mr. Dorfman, Paul Dorfman, and Stephen Wiley of Wiley Insurance. Frank Cowan was represented by Stephen Smith and Todd Farrell. Todd's here this evening. In order to involve as many councillors as possible in the decision making on this matter, we directed staff by resolution at the February 3rd meeting to explore the options of meeting on the 17th. We knew that people were returning from vacation and others who were departing, and that date was one that everyone could get together at. Turned out we had already issued notices to meet on the 18th for Planning Act matters, and the 17th is Family Day, which we did not pick up during the meeting. So at the interviews, when we met with the firms, we realized that Councillor Turton would in fact be back in time to get a copy of the report, discuss the matter with myself and other members of council. And so we called this special meeting through the mayor under our procedural bylaw. I guess I'll just go through the bullet points very quickly. I'm sure you've all read the report. We have two very competitive proposals for coverage that at the end of the day is pretty similar. The premiums are very, very close, within I'd say 10% of each other. And that to me suggests that the RFP process was very fairly done. We had premiums that are close to what our current premium is, and the two bids were very close to each other as well. The JLT premium is based on a 10-year claims history as well, which was supplied to them through the RFP process and the addendums that were clearly communicated to both parties. There are differences in coverages between the two. Each are favorable in one area and another favorable in another area. Just as an example, the Frank Cowan Company coverage for abuse claims exceeds JLT's, but JLT's coverage for flood and earthquake was included in their premium. It was superior in that fashion. The financial component of the proposals was scored at 60%, and that was prorated. So basically what you did is you took the lowest price, you divided it by the highest price, and you times it by 60. So that resulted in 60 points being given to JLT and 53.5 points given to Frank Cowan. So it's a difference of 6.5 points. The other 40% were rankings for submissions, relevant experience, financial stability ratings, coverage above current policy, and value-added services. So there was a whole 40% that was given for those other things. In terms of that scoring, and scoring is just one tool to measure the proposal. At the end of the day, it's up to you guys as council to decide. And certainly the proposal makes it clear that that's who makes the decision, and it's not the scores that decide. Cowan scored higher on local broker and value-added services, while GLT demonstrated more coverage above the current policy, which is with Cowan. Both demonstrated comparable financial stability ratings based on the consultant's review. In their interview, Cowan indicated they felt their value-added and support services exceeded the value of any premium offered, lower premium offered by JLT. Cowan also felt that the weighting of the scoring to 60% was too high in their opinion. They hadn't run into that in other proposals. But I've explained to you how that works, and that was approved by our consultant and myself in preparing the RFP. We have both, myself and the consultant, scored the proposals, and if you're going by scoring the JLT, slightly higher than Frank Cowan. But again, as I mentioned, it's only a tool by which comparisons can be made. I think this council has done its due diligence in talking to the two parties. I think a lot was learned in the two interviews. The JLT proposal is lower priced and has more coverage than the Cowan bid. And there's a 3-year rate guarantee on liability and a 2-year on property. And they have confirmed in their interview that that rate guarantee from JLT is rarely forfeited. The issue of staff support needed at renewal time was clarified in the JLT interview. We're very comfortable with the processes we have with Cowan because they've been our carrier for some 14 years. And based on what we were told, it seems that the interview or the renewal process would be very similar if you chose to go with JLT. There was some discussion about the local broker services. We mentioned that that scored higher in the Cowan proposals due to experience, primarily, and some other things. JLT confirmed their local broker had met their initial standards and that there's ongoing training and performance monitoring that they undertake. We've worked with the local broker for Cowan and found that service to be excellent. So that, again, is part of your scoring and part of the decision-making process that you need to follow. And finally, that if the town switches carriers, it can expect some value-added services will cost more with JLT. That Cowan has made a business of providing a lot of those services at relatively low or no cost, but it really is difficult to quantify these, I'll call them hidden costs, because we don't need all the value-added services at one time. We don't always need risk management services. We don't always need to send our people to certain seminars, nor can we always send people to those things. So it's agreed that their proposal, Cowan's, is superior in that fashion. Depends on what value-added services we need as to what they may cost if you choose to go with JLT. There's a summary of the costs in there for you. It's $227,953 for JLT and $255,712 for Cowan. Based on the work of our consultant, we believe that's an apples-to-apples comparison, with the exceptions and differences duly noted in the information that's been provided to you at both these meetings. So at this point, our recommendation is that you direct staff to negotiate the renewal with JLT and the local broker, Wiley Insurance. But I think we've made it clear all along that we're willing to work with whatever firm you choose. We have a long history with Cowan's. Certainly from a staff perspective, if a change is made, we don't make such a change lightly because we've developed long-term business relationships with the people there. So we're happy to work with whatever company council wishes us to do. I'm happy to try and answer any questions.
Questions?
I have comments, but,
Oh.
you want to set it up? Okay, I gotta, you know, obviously, you know, I've got concerns that I'd like to see us stay with Cowan's. And, some of the things when I look through here, we were talking about value-added services, and we were talking about, staff time and, dollars and cents that would be involved around that. I don't know how you would guess on that. I believe I was talking to you, Bill, about this, and you said that staff time is there's quite a difference in staff time when you were talking to North Wellington.
If I may, through my bridge, Wellington North is a company, or has done the same, the switch that we would do if council chooses to make a switch. I know they've had their challenges there, but we clarified those in the interview. I'm more confident now, based on what was discussed at the interview, that we can manage the change.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of an unknown, as I've said, so.
Correct. I just wonder, it's hard to put dollars and cents and how many thousands of dollars we will spend on it. And I'm also concerned if, because our staff are doing a lot of the work, if our staff happen to make a mistake, for example, not to list an asset, or whatever, and that asset burnt down or a truck rolled and we didn't have it on the list, whether they would pay for it. We know that in the past that Cowan's, we had a truck roll, for example, that wasn't listed, and they didn't hesitate to pay. So that's another concern. All of a sudden, that could be a $100,000 item, and just by saying, no, you didn't have it listed, too bad, you're not getting paid. But we don't know that. I'm also concerned about liquor licensing. Our community has gone out of our way to create a liquor license and a feature that's very safe for our service clubs and different groups that have it. And talking to Cowan's, if you use our town license when you rent the facility, and if you use our bartenders, then the groups don't have to go buy insurance. I'm concerned with the other group that they wouldn't cover the insurance for liability. I would think that now the service clubs would have to pay about $150 for PAL. That's another added insurance policy that they'd have to have. I don't know that for sure because I didn't, JLT hasn't said that, but I think it was inferred. They also are not going to, when asked that, about an unborn child, if we ever got in a situation where an unborn child was terminated, that they wouldn't cover any liability suit on something like that. So in one foul swoop, again, we don't know what kind of lawsuit or what we could get into if they deemed it our fault, if we got into that. And the dollars and cents on a liability, I asked JLT too, and I said, after so much of a rate, I believe it, we figured it out to be about $40,000. If anything, we were sued, anything above $40,000, then they could up the rate. And he agreed, yes, we have an out. So one slip and fall, and we are easily up over $40,000. They've got the right to up our premiums. He did admit to that's quite possible. And God knows the town seems to get sued for all kinds of things. I also, I heard today, I got a telephone call today that Wellington North's premium increased $10,000 this year, which is 6%. So, I mean, it was thought that they would hold the line, and obviously they're like every other insurance company that they will raise the fees if necessary. So it isn't that they did hold the line on them. I believe we're going into the unknown. If we go to a new insurance company, we know what we have. We're protecting our citizens, And I'm concerned that we won't be protecting our citizens as well as they should. We know that they're covered. We know that Cowan's have come to bat for us whenever we need. We don't know about this company. We don't know whether they'll say, too bad, we're not covering you on that. We've got an out here, we're not doing that. We don't know that. But we know for sure that Cowan's have come to our bat and have never said no to us. I just think it's a cost that the $26,000 doesn't see. We can show that $26,000, but is it really $26,000? It's easy to say we save $26,000, and in fact, we may be costing our town hundreds of thousands of dollars if we make the wrong move. I really know what we're getting with Cowan's. I don't know what I'm getting with the other insurance. I was fine with them. I didn't, but I have concerns that I don't even know if the guy we were talking to, whether he's the guy we'd be dealing with. Is he the one?
Mayor Bridge, through, I would suggest there would be an account manager and not.
So it would be someone else, so we didn't get to talk to the person that would be the field manager for us. Okay, that's all I have. I think it's a mistake if we don't go with Cowan's, if we go with the other. And,
I just wanted to respond to just a couple of your points, Councillor Elliott. Wellington North, it was in the paper, the reason their insurance went up is because they added assets, not because the premiums went up for their current assets. They added more assets to their listing.
okay.
And I
And
believe
they were
also-
actually thrilled with because it said they're happy about their insurance.
So if
what
we
they
add,
said.
if we add assets, then ours will go up, or are they guaranteed? I don't know that.
If we add assets, it will go up the price of the new assets.
Even though
which
they're
it would with any company. You're adding additional assets.
And I think just on that, I think they also went to the 50 million,
I
which
don't know.
was 43. I think the paper said 43, if I'm not right. Correct me if I'm not right, but I think it was 43. It was in the one with the advertiser, I
Yeah,
believe, wasn't it?
yeah. And I just remember them saying they were happy about their
Some
insurance
of it
increase
was that.
because it only went
Okay,
up by 6% because of increased assets.
okay,
And just in regards to the 3-year that you mentioned and the $40,000, he did explain to us that it would be a lot more than 40,000, and that in his history with the company, he has never yet seen a policy that did not renew at the same price for the 3-year period.
he said that, but
Did say that.
it's not written that way.
It says 40% of our premium would have to be the claim.
40% of,
Right.
what was it?
And he said that he has never seen it in his history with the company that.
So that would
hasn't
be,
been on.
40% would be just 100,000, around 100,000.
And I may be, to be corrected on this, I'm not sure of the, but you mentioned about the liquor licenses with if someone sued the organization as well as the town, I believe, and maybe somebody can correct me on this if I'm wrong, maybe you would know, Todd, the organization, if they did not have separate insurance, would be on their own, is that correct?
That is the answer we received, and that is the way it is now. For the larger events, we strongly recommend that groups get their own coverage. What the JLT,
I have never seen us get insurance. I know the Lions Club have never got insurance. They've
But
been
if-
covered by the
If
town.
someone at the Lions Club event had fallen and sued
You have your
both
own-
the Lions Club and the town,
Not liquor license, insurance.
No, but
No, they
you
would
have,
go
you
under
have liability
your
insurance.
insurance.
the Lions
Everyone
Club.
has their own
Yeah.
insurance
correct? And
Yes,
that's
but
what
not,
would kick in.
not PAL, or not liquor licensing.
doesn't
They-
matter.
But that's what would kick in, not necessarily, like it would be,
I don't believe that what he said is you'd have to get coverage for your liquor licensing.
I didn't hear that.
Well, I heard that.
What, I heard the fact that they do have, besides PAL, they do have a secondary one that people can quite easily get if they want, for groups. But I think I'm with Mary Lou on this. When we talked about it, it was a case of, if, for larger ones, we recommend they get it. Otherwise, it's under our liquor license, but if it's your event, I would assume they would sue under your personal insurance, and in the case of the Lions Club, under their insurance.
No, that's not true.
Well,
That's not fact.
the point is, right now, Cowan's, we don't, it's the same. It's like, what's the difference between the Cowan's and JPL? Like, there's none. The Cowan's would say the same thing, Ron, that's what I'm saying.
I don't remember him saying that.
Okay, well, that's the way I got out of it, but,
I know, but the way we got out of it, in fact is, it's just two different ways. Okay, fine.
anything else?
No, that's all I just wanted to, and to me, the 3-year price guarantee is a very important issue. In the fact that it's not the dollars and cents that we're saving right now, it's the fact that we will be continuing to save those dollars and cents for 3 years on liability and 2 years.
JLT said we have outs.
Yes,
said
they
that.
have
He did
outs.
say that.
Certainly, if we are sued tomorrow for millions of dollars, they have an out. But based on our claims history for the past 10 years, that hasn't been the situation that they've got concerns about. But,
Thanks.
I mean, there's no guarantee. There is
That's
no
right.
guarantee.
They did say they had outs.
Mayor Bridge, thank you. Is it true that our firemen, our fire service is being protected presently with JLT?
I believe it is, yeah.
Just a question about the value-added services. Could you give us an example of what we might need from them and any idea of a cost? I don't recall ever getting anything in the 4 years or 3.5 years we've been here, but
If I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, they both offer sort of different things. I guess the experience I can give you is with the Frank Cowan Company over the last 7 years in the role that I have. In the other municipality I worked for, the claims history wasn't quite as strong. At no charge, they came up and ran a half-day risk management session for all our department heads where they gave a presentation. They talked about issues that were of concern, things that we could do as a municipality to try and help minimize risk. That was done free of charge. They talked about information on their they have a web sign-up thing where you can get bulletins and updates on current trends that are out there and that kind of thing, issues, problems, best practices, that kind of stuff. Basically, Frank Cowan will come up anytime you ask and give you that kind of service if you need it. And for JLT, they do talk about some of those things as well, but I expect if you wanted to have a session like that, you may have to pay for that, and I don't know what that cost would be. It would be a few $100 to $1,000 or something like that. I don't know exactly.
And we've said all along that the main reason that we went out for tender was certainly not that we were dissatisfied with either Cowan's or a local broker. We have been more than satisfied with both. And one thing that, when you were saying about your value-added services, Terry, that Cowan's did do, which was very beneficial to us, is when we went to the ministry at Good Roads. They came in with us when we were talking about joint liability and supporting us in that role. And I think that was very beneficial for our insurance company to be there. Now, if we asked JLT to do the same thing, there probably would be a charge involved.
I doubt it.
You do?
Well, because it's beneficial to the
them as
insurance
well.
companies as well.
Right.
We don't
I mean-
know.
We
That's
don't
the-
know
That's the
that.
unknown I'm talking
Well,
about.
I'm just saying, I mean, I don't see that one as one, only because it's beneficial to all the insurance companies, and I think GPL and Cowan's are constantly trying to get, and I think Steve mentioned it during his presentation, that they're constantly making presentations to the ministry on that, because when we had that thing there, they came on our behalf. But just to show support from the industry-wide. So it was a great opportunity for them to get in front of a minister, I think, so it was almost a benefit to them. So I would think if we asked any insurance company, they would come and do that, but not saying that it was great to have them there.
I just remembered one, Mayor Bridge, as you were speaking, and that was a session they're having, I think, for roads maintenance people right now, where you send road superintendent or a public works director or something like that, free of charge to a location for a day's training, that kind of thing. So, you know, that's a few $100 if you have to pay for that. Just in my mind, in the presentation, and I believe Cowan said that you could easily have $25,000 worth of risk or value-added services. But I just don't think as a municipality this size that we could ever take advantage of all that, given our time constraints and so forth.
the other thing too is almost all the conferences we go to, there's always a session or two that would normally cost us something maybe to have somebody give it, but if you go at the conference, it's included in the conference. And I'm assuming it's the same for the people in the roads department, that when they go to conferences, there's insurance issues or liability issues that are presented by these companies probably. So that's part of your, when you go, that's part of your registration fee that covers that. So I'm not sure it's a big issue personally from what my experience has been here.
I guess just one point too, and I'll ask our treasurers here. As far as missing an asset and not having it, we just finished an asset management program. We have a pretty good handle on our inventory and equipment now. It's one of the advantages why we went out to the insurance, because we could give them a full package as to what we have out there. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not saying that we couldn't still miss
Yeah.
one. It's still possible. We have, what did we say, 3,700 assets,
Yeah.
yeah. So, for sure. With the Cowan proposal, they call it a blanket coverage, and he had everything there too. I think that all the larger companies would basically be there. That's one place that, as a municipality, I can't believe how economical the automotive policies are.
Right.
Where you're paying for it is more the liability and that stuff too, and the different risks. I think it was specifically underground tanks and environmental issues. That's where they seem to be more concerned.
Which
But
we
like
feel-
if you had a Ford F-150 that was really a 350, I don't think they'd get too excited. But,
Right. And I guess the other point I just wanted to make is they give us a 3-year rate guarantee, and we're debating whether that is good or bad, or they can get out of it. Well, Cowan doesn't even give us that. We asked that, and they said no, they wouldn't do that. So, Ron, if we had a big claim or whatever, dang right we're gonna get an increase, and Cowan told us that at the table, there would be an increase, because it's based on your local claims. So, when we started to compare, I mean, I like the idea that we might have an opportunity for a 3-year rate guarantee, but if it doesn't happen because we've done something wrong and we get a big claim against us, I mean, that's our problem. But either company, we're gonna have to pay in that case. So I think I look at the dollars that were presented today and what that constitutes almost a 0.5% on our budget. It's pretty hard for us from a council standpoint to not take advantage of that. But
yeah,
that's-
it is difficult because both, I think Cowan's and all the competitors are kind of middlemen. They're very
Yeah.
dependent on their reinsurers, as long as they can get reinsurance, and that depends on things that are completely out of your control, tsunamis and earthquakes and ice.
And I guess I just want to point out one other thing, and I said it when we had our meeting the other day. We started this process a year ago. I think we've really done a pretty good, this council has been very conscious of the fact we wanted to have a good approach. And now we're at the final hour. We had to have this special meeting because we can't wait. Because it took us a year to get to this point, to have as much information as we possibly had, and we had 2 good proposals from 2 strong companies. We had a consultant that gave us lots of information. I don't think we could have done any better as a council to come up with all the facts and figures we need to make this decision. So whatever it is, that's my thought.
So part of the RFP was we asked them to have a 3-year moratorium? Or
No.
when did we ask them that?
That wasn't in the RFP.
Oh, I thought you said we asked them and they said no. Cowan's.
We asked at the interview, we asked.
But they can't
Mr.
change their RFP after they,
No, I think
No, we asked,
At
Steve
the meeting.
Smith at the meeting if there would be a chance of that with Cowan.
And he basically said with Cowan's, and I understand where his business sense in it, I believe he said, and correct me if I'm wrong, or Bill, but I believe he said their company looks at it and they analyze it every year based on your thing, and they don't give rate guarantees. That's just
Yes.
part of their policy.
that's right.
So that's not in their mandate to do, and they wouldn't waver on that. Am I right?
Well, they couldn't waiver after they put their RFP in.
No, I don't think they had, we asked them, I don't think that was in their, they don't have that policy, I believe. Are you right?
Bridge, that's not their practice. That was what conveyed to us, and
At that meeting?
nobody was asked to change their RFP. That was just the question that was asked in the interview.
Mayor Bridge, at the end of 3 years, it's very easy to go back and do the same thing over again.
Got it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're kind of agreeing on 3 years, and after that, it's Open
for
funds.
negotiation again.
Yep.
For sure. Very competitive thing out there. Not the only ones that are doing this. Okay. Any other discussion? Do you want a recorded vote, or do you?
I would request that.
Recorded vote? Okay, I just wondered, I thought somebody might request that. All right.
I wonder why.
So, we need a motion to have a recorded vote, right?
We need a motion on the recommendation.
Oh, the recommendation, sorry.
Or another motion that anyone may wish to make.
All right, well, I'll read the recommendation. The council receives the report dated February 11th, 2014 from CAO clerk regarding the 2014 insurance renewal. And it results in that the council provides direction to staff to negotiate a 2014 insurance renewal with JLT and the local broker, Wiley Insurance.
Right, now, the recorded vote has been requested, so that will happen.
Yep,
So,
I'm
You need a mover
I'm willing
and
to
a-
make that motion.
okay. Terry, seconded by Dave. All in favor of the motion?
okay,
Carried.
now
Okay.
I need to record that, so I'll start with
Yep.
Counselor Elliott.
I don't agree, no.
So no,
Opposed?
opposed?
Counselor Caldwell?
Agree.
Counselor Turton? Agree. Deputy Mayor Fisk?
In favor?
Mayor Bridge?
In favor?
Motion's then carried.
Okay. Thank you for discussion, everybody. I think we worked hard at that.
Did work hard.
Moved by Councilor Caldwell, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk. The committee of the whole convenes in the town of Minto Council. All in favor? There. Is there any notice of motion? Okay. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Caldwell. The Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councilor Caldwell, bylaw number 2014-8 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the February 13, 2014 Committee of Council meeting be introduced and read first, second, and third time, passed in open council, and sealed with seal of corporation. Now, we just had to vote on that one, right? That's the final bylaw, right?
That bylaw adopts the proceedings of the
Adopts
committee of the whole.
proceedings, so this will be does this have to be a recorded vote too?
If you wish it to be a recorded vote, someone just needs to ask.
Okay,
Doesn't have to
Doesn't
be,
matter.
I can
Okay.
vote no without a recorded vote.
all right, all right. So, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to do
No,
it twice.
fine.
Mayor Bridge, does Counselor Elliott want his vote recorded as no?
Sure.
Yes, in the minutes. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Cole, that the Council of Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor, which is next Tuesday, I believe. All in favor? Thanks for coming, guys, and appreciate you taking time out to come for a special meeting, but I thought it was important.